Ladies and gentlemen, a new Smite patch has brought us a new Smite god, a Chinese goddess named Nuwa, the Guardian of Heaven. She's got some interesting mechanics, and there have been some, let's say, challenges in learning how she works, and some things I was misinformed about. And I had some video recorded, and ultimately I scrapped those. I don't mind showing losses, but my information was so off, and things just got pretty bad. So we're going to try this again, and we're going to do an overview of Nuwa for you, what her abilities are, and how she works. So this is the basic skin. We'll go ahead and quickly show off the amethyst skin for Nuwa. There you go. Very pretty. Very pretty. Alright, starting off with Nuwa's passive. Nuwa draws upon the power of the 5 colored elemental crystals. When she uses an ability, it activates the corresponding crystal for 10 seconds, which grants her an additional bonus. When all the crystals are active, Nuwa will transform into her true snake form, and it refreshes the duration of all crystals for another 10 seconds. Now, you always have the baseline wood crystal for 10 HP 5. Each ability will grant you another crystal as far as the Chinese elements are concerned, so fire, earth, metal, wood, and water. So moving on to the first ability, and this is the one that met with a little bit of challenge for me, as I didn't really understand how this worked. This is Fog. Nuwa condenses moisture into a fog around her location, which follows her at 95% of her movement speed. She and all allies are stealthed while inside the fog. Attacking breaks the stealth effect. Enemies caught inside the fog are slowly choked for damage every second. The ability also activates Nuwa's water crystal, granting her increased movement speed. Now, this ability says it grants invisibility, and the problem with that is you really aren't invisible. That's where I was missing the mark on this, because I didn't really fight against many Nuwas, so I was only guessing on how it worked. I was mainly playing as. So the problem with fog is that the enemy team can see the actual fog. And since it's always at 95% of your movement speed, you are usually in the front zone of the fog. It follows you for the most part. You're not going to be walking out of it unless you are moving for a long distance or have quite a bit of movement speed, but the enemy can then relatively guess that you are in the front of the fog while it's moving. Now, the benefit of the fog is that, yes, it grants stealth to other characters, so if you can manipulate it right with your team, you can create some interesting surprise attack moments with this ability. The damage is not very high. It goes up to 50 plus 10% of magical power. And remember, this is every second, not like most dot or damage over time effects that happen every half a second. So you're doing a little less damage with this. The main draw of this ability is the movement speed, which as you level it up will get you up to 30% additional movement speed. And the cooldown is fairly short. So with some cooldown reduction gear, you will be able to bring that down. The crystal lasts for 10 seconds. The cooldown is 14. So even without cooldown reduction, you only have about a 4-second lapse in the movement speed if you don't build anything. Moving on to clay soldiers. Nuwa conjures clay minions from the earth. These minions have health equal to 200 plus 20% of Nuwa's maximum health and will push lanes, attempt to attack nearby structures. Using this ability also activates Nuwa's earth crystal, granting her a physical protection aura. So you gain not only protection for yourself but for your allies. You start with 1 clay soldier, moving up to 5. The damage never increases, so this isn't as useful as some things like, let's say Arachnes. Her spiderlings will gain a damage bonus as she levels up, plus she gets some from her gear. With these, you don't. So originally I thought this would be one of the abilities I'd want to level first, because with flat damage, you would think, okay, it's going to drop off over time and not be as good. You want to get it early so that the damage is decent. But the truth of the matter is, the damage even then is not great, and the clay soldiers don't push lane very well, plus they will die against enemy players that are good at pushing the lane and doing damage to the lane. So I would probably avoid this as the first ability, but probably make it the second, because what it is good for is just like, say, Bastet's cats, or even, well, not so much the spiderlings, but much like Bastet's cats, they will block the enemy. They can do body blocking for you. Not only that, but they are free allies to throw into a tower. So if you're going to go attack a tower, the enemy's just killed your creep, you can drop the soldier. So if you need to get that last hit on a tower, it's excellent for doing that. Not to mention the bonus of giving up to 30 physical protection, so if you're fighting a physical god, it can be very useful there. Your primary ability that you'll be using for damage and lane clear is going to be Flame Strike. Nuwa conjures an intense burst of flame at her target location, stunning enemies and enemy structures for 1 second. So the first ability that I know of for Smite that actually affects structures. It will do damage and it will stun them, although with a 1 second stun, unless the tower was about to fire right then and there, you may or may not notice it since the firing rate's kind of slow. The damage increases the closer Nuwa is to the source when cast, up to 1.5 at point blank range. The ability activates Nuwa's Fire Crystal, granting her basic attack splash damage that apply on-hit item effects. So that's where the main draw is, the on-hit effect on splash. So you hit your primary enemy, do full damage, and then you do 50% of that to everything around it. So items like the Telecus Ring, which does 40 additional damage with every hit, it will do that damage to every enemy it hits in a group. So that's honestly a fairly decent item to use for beginning, although you may want to replace it for different bonuses later. It's kind of the opposite of Isis's stun ball. Obviously, the further away the ball is from Isis, the higher the damage, the longer the stun was. In this case, you have to be a bit closer. And it has a range much like Kronos' #1 ability, which is kind of a small circle, and it has about the same ramp-up time, where you can see it, and then it takes a second, and then it does its damage. So it does make it fairly hard to hit with, and unlike Kronos, you don't have a stun to lead up with it. In fact, it is the stun, so you kind of have to have some good judgment on that. But a 1 second stun can be quite useful for catching up or getting the enemy in a precarious situation. Of course, it also does damage over time and performs a little bit of burn. So the ultimate ability of this new god is the Pillars of Heaven. Nuwa summons the Pillars of Heaven to imprison her enemies. 4 metal pillars create a square with an electrical field. Enemies who pass through the field take damage and are heavily slowed for 3 seconds. The ability also activates Nuwa's Metal Crystal, granting her basic attacks increased damage. So this is a great ability in the fact that it's a big square cage, so think like Odin's cage, except for you can walk through it. Difference being that if you walk through it, you take damage and you get slowed. So it doesn't do any damage to enemies inside of it directly. It just keeps them from wanting to go in and out of that location. So it's kind of like a ward, just a way to keep enemies either away or to keep them in an area that you want them. And so it's very useful in teamfight type scenarios. A major draw of this ability, though, is going to be the fact that it activates the Metal Crystal, which doubles your basic attack damage. So Nuwa is generally considered kind of an in-hand god, but she's a lot like Kronos in that she really doesn't do a lot of damage up front. A lot of people have put her in mid and solo lanes, but her lane clear really isn't there in the beginning of the game. Kind of like Kronos. He can't really clear in the beginning of the game. Later on, he does quite a bit of damage. Nuwa, I don't feel like her damage is quite up there. It's more on the abilities, but she has a lot more utility and things that she can do. But then if you activate Pillars of Heaven, and as you can see, has a fairly short cooldown of 60 seconds, then you can have additional damage using that. And ultimately, the goal here, if you want to use your passive correctly, is to use the Metal Crystal for as long as you can before you activate all the elemental crystals and then refresh it. So since the Pillar of Heaven has a lengthy cooldown compared to our other abilities, you want to have that Metal Crystal do as much damage as you can and then pop all of your crystals, and then you get another 10 seconds of that double damage. Plus, since you'll have the Flame Crystal, you'll be doing splash damage as well. So that is what we're looking at here. So now that I have a bit more understanding of her, and we've gone over her abilities, let's see if we can't get into a match and make it look good, shall we?
The warring of gods has endangered these lands. I must keep the balance.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we are in a match, and I will be going to the solo lane. Not exactly my immediate preference, but we will. We'll see if we can't make it happen. So with that, something I might want to get right away, or at least fairly early, will be the Telkisness. You know what? Forget it. I'm not even going to try. I want the ring because of the 40 additional damage. That's really going to help me with the clearance from a beginning standpoint. Now, as we can see, it's actually fairly inexpensive. If I normally start with boots, then it is actually less expensive. Let's get the Vampiric Shroud because we're going to need that. And honestly think before boots I want to go for this, just because I'm going to need some of the power, speed and protection, honestly, because I don't have any other natural clearance. So I'm gonna do that. And at this point, I'm going to grab a healing potion, because something I have found with her is she is fairly mana efficient, quite honestly. And if someone lets me take the mana potion, I won't really need to have one. So here we go. This is going to be an interesting starting build. I saw this suggested of getting the ring as one of the first things, even before boots, and that's kind of when I want to try it. Because in the past, I haven't had much success in solo. I've tried solo, I've tried mid, and she can do it, but I've had difficulty. Nuwa is definitely a god that you need to get some proficiency in before she becomes anything short of a disaster. You might do well with her. I personally just not great. Alright, so I'm going to move in close so that I get the additional damage with that fire crystal, the flame strike. Thank you, Mercury. You are a good man, a gentleman, and a scholar. I'm going to level up Fog next because that is my escape move. I will be laning against a Thanatos in tier? What? Well, that must be... Thanatos is probably their jungler. Very well, then. What's this? Yeah. He just wanted to go and run across the lane. Alright, well, looks like I have Clay Soldier now. Thanatos is not leaving the lane for whatever reason. And it begins. So as you can see, God with much more push than I is causing difficulty for me. At that point, I probably should have used my Clay Soldiers. I'm going to go ahead and start using my potion. This is going to be difficult. I'm going to have to try and stun him before he can really put a hurt onto my line, which is what his objective here is going to be. Oh. So I tried. I didn't predict the ability that he was going to use. And I'm running into lag, unfortunately. Alright, so with that, let's go ahead and level up the Flame Strike. I want to get some additional damage on it so I can clear lane. I'm going to go ahead and use my one Clay Soldier. And just use it. I'm going to use a bit more mana, using a few more abilities to clear the lane. I can't rely on any one ability, honestly. And since my mana efficiency is pretty decent, it may not be that bad. There we go. Was able to get a stun on tier, but fortunately, he was able to just kind of plow on through. Didn't take too much damage, though. Clay Soldier helping me out. I have my ultimate. Now I'm probably going to need some assistance soon. Yeah. Yeah, he's just going to keep pushing the lane and doing damage to me. But the good news is, he actually has a lot more damage on him than I have on me right now. Well, not a lot. He has more, though. He is getting to that point. And since I have my ult, and he just used his, it would be, yeah, it's very dangerous for him to stay at this point. So let's do a bit more damage. I'm actually now behind because I took damage from the creep. But the next time he wants to run forward... There we go. I've got double damage now.
Retreat, right lane. Retreat. An ally has
Oh, there we go. Actually caused him to kind of move back. And so as you can see, the cloud there, that they can very much see that cloud.
An ally has been slain.
Alright, let's, okay, so he's just, alright. I thought he might dash forward, but it looks like he's going to be a bit more cautious than that. Now I'm going to use the point-blank version of this to get the lane cleared, and then I'm going to get out of here. Let's go ahead and get a quick teleport so I can get back in the lane quickly, get part 2. I don't have enough for part 3. And I'm going to grab a whole bunch of health potions, because I think I'm going to need it. Let's get back in the lane. Now the good news is my earth crystals from my clay soldiers will help me against Tyr, because, you know, obviously he's physical. So I can guard myself a little from his attacks. Not only that, but when it levels, it will also start giving me something to stop him. Alright, there we go. Doing a bit of damage to him because he is getting hit by the splash. As you can see, they are moving back. They get knocked back. Honestly, I kind of wish that knockback wasn't as high. It doesn't affect gods in that way. I'm going to go ahead and level clay soldiers now because I want to have 2 of these up. As you can see, there's the Chinese/Japanese symbol for Earth. Normally, I want to level up the primary ability I'll be using, but in this case, I want to actually have a few more of those soldiers out on the battlefield to help me out. Still running into more lag, not a good thing. So, enemy team is doing well. They are ahead as far as kills are concerned. Only a tiny bit as far as farm is concerned. Alright. Alright. Unfortunately, I was not able to get away. I tried putting my ult down to slow Thanatos down, but unfortunately, Tyr's knockup and ability to push me into the wall, and then of course I was just slowed by, it looked like I was slowed by Thanatos. It just, unfortunately, was not meant to be. So I'm going to go ahead and grab teleport. I want to get back in the lane as quickly as possible. I'll be back up in just a couple seconds. Mercury is already trying to do some damage, trying to do some damage control here. So unfortunately, as we saw there, just got completely ganked by the jungle. Nuwa has no real means of escape, just a way to speed herself up, and unless I level it, it's not going to do me much good. So, unfortunately, it is usually the last thing I level. Unfortunately not, unless I perfectly can predict where he's going to dash or when he's going to dash, how much I can do. So we'll put the clay soldiers down, prevent myself from taking damage, push the lane back. I just have to use my abilities to my advantage. Once I get enough to buy the last part of the ring, alright, we'll go ahead and move back. Alright, so he's trying to push me back, obviously. And I'm going to go ahead and put down my pillars here to keep him from getting away too much. Obviously, he can do more damage to me at that range. Way too close. Yeah, you might want to back off just a tiny bit, my friend. I'm going to go ahead and use 2 potions, as a matter of fact. Yeah, if he gets close, I'm kind of screwed. So let's see. I was able to stun him, but as we can see, it wasn't enough to... It wasn't enough damage for me to stay in there, because he's definitely gonna put a hurting on me if I do, if I try. It looks like he's trying to return, but I'm not telling if he's trying to bait me or not. Okay, no, he's not baiting me, but the good news is, this is my advantage, because I will get the 3rd tier of that ring. And now I have a lot more lane clearing potential. You can see they're doing a lot of damage to the lane now, and even a bit to Tyr himself.
Be right back.
Yeah. So there we go. That'll help. Unfortunately, Tyr's clearance is definitely much more than mine. We are going to go ahead and level up the clay soldiers.
An ally has been slain.
And get my splash damage back. Now, I am ahead of him so far in health, so this is great. Uh-oh, Thanatos taking the middle. Looks like he's going after Isis. Isis is going to have to pull back. Let's see. In case he wants to try that again, let's just go ahead and do that. Oh, yeah. That actually made him have to retreat. I have all of my gems active and nothing to do. There we go. Doing double damage now with Splash. As we can see there, though, he interrupted my abilities and then Thanatos came out of nowhere. So that is a problem with fighting Tyr. Man, I really hate fighting Tyr. Honestly, unless I'm a hunter of some sort, I don't like fighting him. Because only then can I really feel like I'm keeping my distance from him and doing well. Because then I have escape moves and all that. I really don't have any escape from him with this character. So, yeah, I really hate fighting Tyr with a mage. It's just not good. Now, I'm going to go ahead and I know I'm not getting boots. That's probably a mistake. But I want some defense. And it's also going to start my cooldown. I'm just going to use my water crystal to give me the speed I need for now. Tyr is going to start doing damage to the tower, but I want to grab mana.
Nice job.
I've got you right.
Alright, so I was able to drive him out. Alright, he just jumped through the wall. That's fine.
Holy fire, guide my hand.
Double kill.
You can see they're doing quite a bit of damage to his creep. Ah, man, my tower's so far behind, though. I'm not really sure
Enemy missing left.
what I'm going to do about it. Again, I'm just not very good. I fully admit it. I'm not very good with Nuwa. I really, and I think this could be a little bit easier if they weren't knocked back so much. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and use my clay soldiers. They will do some additional damage to the structure. Now, I can use the flame strike there. As you can see, it also does damage to the structure. I could activate my ultimate in order to do even more damage, but I'm a little pensive about it. Thanatos has come into lane multiple times so far. Killed me twice. And I want to have something just in case. Alright, here comes Tyr. Alright, get a little blocking there, not much. Now he can see the fog. Alright. Thought he might move forward, but he didn't. He is chasing me, so we're going to go ahead and put down the ult. And we're going to hopefully do a little bit of body blocking. Nope, the warriors didn't go down like I thought they would.
Your middle tower is under attack.
A little bit of stun.
Nice job.
Could have sworn I just saw a teleport come in. Alright, clay soldiers, obviously not great. They don't last very long. Alright. Just using everything I can to kind of keep them away. Using my movement speed to my advantage as much as possible. Ah, I missed. I should have put the ult down. But I do have double damage, and he ran into it like a bug zapper. That is hilarious. Alright, we got it. Left tower. Now, unfortunately, mid lane is now kind of suffering. They are being pushed. We are going to lose that tower, so I'm just going to go ahead and run. Teleport back. Alright. Not bad. I'm feeling a lot better about this than I was before. I am I'm going to go ahead and start getting the boots now, actually. I really am going to need that movement speed, so I'll work on the breastplate at a later time. At this point, I need consumable. Give me one of those and just fill the rest with health potions. I don't need to get back to lane immediately, so I'm not going to teleport now, but I do have it if I need it in the future.
An enemy has been slain.
So at this point, I've gotten my tower down. I need to try and help where I can. Middle tower is very close to being down, so I'm going to try and run in. And if I can,
Feel my wrath.
I want to get as much damage to that tower, if not outright kill it, as I can. I think I can kill it with my soldiers.
An enemy has been slain.
To battle, my children.
We've got all 5 soldiers.
Been slain.
There we go. Middle tower is down. I'm going to go ahead and teleport to lane to stop tier. Alright, so I've got double damage and splash damage.
Go for it. Better to keep it low.
Okay, there's the stun.
An ally has been slain.
Fortunately, I'm running out of flame crystal. This is going to expire in just a second.
Under attack. Your middle tower.
Alright, crystal soldiers are back. Tier's going to get the tower. Ah, I hate that. Not only does it knock you back and prevent you from using any abilities, but it just does a ton of damage. Jeez. But it knocks you back, keeps you from doing anything, and it interrupts anything you might have been doing at the time, which sucks. Alright, cooldown reduction, and then of course we'll get the breastplate. That'll double up the cooldown reduction. As a matter of fact, at this point, should I sell that? I'll hold on to it for now. Grab another teleport and health potions.
An enemy has been slain.
So the enemy has 2 towers. We have 2 towers. I was able to take the 2 towers myself, so that was good. Thanatos. Now he will, of course, see me coming. Unfortunately, the summon time on the soldiers is a little high. So as you can see, I can't exactly... Oh, there's the stun.
An enemy has been slain.
Nice. I have no way of getting out of his chains. I'm not going to risk it.
Has been slain.
So there's like a good couple of seconds before the soldiers come up. So if you want to body block somebody with the soldiers, it's a little difficult. Alright, level 16, not doing too bad. I'm doing far better than I have in the past, if that says anything. Now that I know how she works. Before I tried to use her stealth in ways like I would play Loki, for example. I would try and go behind the enemy, juke the enemy, not realizing that they were seeing the cloud the entire time. Oh my god. I was sitting there and I would have people turn around and just shoot at me, and I'd be sitting there wondering, how the hell did they even know I was there? It really sucked. Alright, so I've got a pretty good amount of movement speed out of my water gem now. In fact, with the boots, you can see it's only like 3 seconds outside of the movement speed buff. Trying to get as much experience as possible, push where I can. Unfortunately, we are down a person, it looks like. Just realized that. Who are we down? We are down Isis. Great. 3 of our guys in the right. I've got Tyr and Thanatos chasing me down. Alright. going to do what we can. Obviously, we're going to be at a disadvantage unless that person comes back, and even then. Alright, let's go ahead and get the soldiers down. Activate my last gem to get all my abilities up. Oh man, I went right into the threshold as he came down.
An ally has been slain.
Alright, let's go ahead and sell this now and buy just a little bit short. I won't be able to. And the team decides to surrender. So, there you have it. I at least got to 17. I didn't do terrible. A 1 in 3, but 2 of those were basically ganks by Thanatos. Because, you know, Tyr has basically got an overpowered ability to interrupt you and push you against things. I'm not going to say Tyr's actually overpowered, but I'll be damned if that isn't an amazingly powerful ability that he can do to just shut you down like that, especially if anyone else is nearby. But that wasn't too bad. It's very, very difficult to push with her, it feels like, even though she seems to be described as a pusher. I just don't know. She's not my favorite god. I don't really care for her. I have built her up with demonic grip. I've had her with the grip, I've had her with the ring, and with some cooldown reductions, and so she's able to keep her crystals up almost all the time when you've got the full cooldown reduction. And the auto attack with attack speed is nice, but because she doesn't have a self buff like Chronos, she only ever really gets up to like 1.6, I think, attack speed. If you're not deliberately, if you're only getting like 2 items and no Fatalis. And it doesn't quite, she's just not quite as powerful, it feels, and a lot of it is going to be in the team fights. And unfortunately, in this video, you really didn't get to see any team fights with the giant bug zapper of death. Now, some people have been calling for a nerf on Nuwa because the bug zapper will hit any number of times that they actually walk into it. So I've seen some instances where I've had a Poseidon just barely get me in his whirlpool, and then I'd be right on the edge. I think it was just like the strangest coincidence of placings. I don't think it was intentional, but my god, it did the trick, because I died instantly because the whirlpool was slowing me, keeping me on it, and I was just getting hit by it constantly. But the big thing is what the Reddit forums are calling the shake and bake. What a name. Where Fenrir picks up a god and just back and forth across the zapper just by moving the mouse, which you can do. And it's pretty much an instant kill, because it doesn't matter how high you build your defenses. If he's able to shake you across that multiple times in a second, you're dead. And the truth is, there's multiple combos and even single enemies that can do something like that. I mean, Anubis himself can usually kill gods with the right combo in his ultimate. So the fact that 2 ultimates combined together, I don't think that's really a big deal. I thought about it. At first it seemed like, yeah, that's kind of ridiculous, but then I'm like, no, wait, there's multiple combos that do crap like that, so I don't really think that's a big deal. Overall, I don't know what to think of Nuwa. She's obviously not my pick, not my god. I will be playing her more on and off just to get the mastery up so I can have my 46 mastery. But I can't say if she's really great or not. I'm not feeling her myself. But I think that in the right hands, she could be pretty good. Time will tell when the next Smite patch comes out whether or not she gets a buff or a nerf. I honestly don't see her getting a nerf. I don't see anything on her right now that is overpowered. I think if anything, they're going to end up buffing her. So we'll have to see how that plays out. Amazing support. Again, group play, bug zapper, not only that, but the stealth. If you can get multiple people in the stealth and the enemy thinks it's just you, they're in for a surprise. So there's potential there. Alright, thank you for watching, ladies and gentlemen. This has been a look at Nuwa, the Chinese goddess of heaven. We'll see you next time.